When you didn't graduate high school, you got ADHD, you're dyslexic, everybody in your life prior to that point was telling you how big of a failure you're going to be because you didn't finish high school, you didn't go to college, all the things you shouldn't or didn't do. And you feel like you have a chip on your shoulder, you have a lot to prove. Here you are the guy that didn't do any of that stuff. You tend to lead from insecurity and you make a lot of dumb decisions. And I think that was the moment where awareness took over, which is another reason why I'm so passionate about helping entrepreneurs become truly aware of who they are in this moment in time with no guilt, no shame, none of that stuff. Let's just get honest with ourselves.
Everybody, welcome back to another episode of the 1% Podcast. I'm your host, Van End.
And I'm Shane.
And you guys might have heard of David Goggins, but now we've got Steven Scoggins. Welcome to the show, my man.
What's up, buddy? How you guys doing, man?
We're doing great, dude.
Hey, I do bust out some of those workouts like he does, so I guess there's a little bit of a brotherly love there, you know. So I don't want to get before him anymore because I outgrew that, but
he's gonna yell at us some point in the show, telling us somebody's got to carry the boats, but we'll figure that out later.
That's right.
So, guys, I met my man Steven over here at an event hosted by one of our previous guests, Amberly Lago, and she's a phenomenal individual. So as you might guess, she's equally surrounded by amazing people. Steven was one of her close friends, or still is, I should say. Still is one of her close friends, and I'm one of her friends. We were fortunate enough to connect at the same table and hang out, and now we also have a great friendship, and that truly is the power of good people bringing good people together. So with that being said, Steven, I'd love for you to tell our audience a little bit more of who you are, what you're up to, a little bit more about your journey, and let's just learn about the man sitting here in front of us.
Well, first of all, I appreciate the opportunity to share with your audience. I hope I dropped something today, that's even a little bit of value. You guys are also people that hang out with amazing people as well. So, I think what I'm most known for is essentially going from homelessness to building a $100 million company. That's what I'm most known for, notable. What I'd like to be known for ultimately is the impact I give other entrepreneurs by living an aligned life that obviously aligns with their business, aligns with their impact and their income. I discovered in that homeless journey and building my first company early on that businesses really succeed or fail based on the entrepreneur from the inside out. Let me give you a little example. So when I was building my first company, right, it was largely to eat, necessity, roof, shelter, all those types of things. And lo and behold, I discovered one of the biggest mistakes I made in trying to build a business long-term was trying to build a company without building myself. And statistics would tell you that businesses fail for one of five major reasons: lack of marketing, lack of sales, wrong product fit, all these types of external types of things. And the more I've worked with entrepreneurs at different levels, I specialize nowadays in taking entrepreneurs from 5 to 7 figures plus, because only about 3% of entrepreneurs ever, and when I say 3% of the 20% that actually make it past year 5, ever make it past 7 figures in top line revenue. And I discovered that in walking with these folks and myself even, that ultimately the stumbling blocks to get there are actually really 5 major emotional behavioral triggers. So we say they're arrogance, ignorance, impatience, fear, and insecurity. If you think about every big decisions you ever made in business, whether it be in relationships or business or client relationships, like any of those types of things, and things didn't go exactly as planned, in almost every instance thus far, in every instance I've come across thus far, I can trace it back to one or more of those five emotional triggers.
And what were they again? Before we go?
So yeah, arrogance, ignorance, impatience, fear, and insecurity. So arrogance says, I have it all figured out. I actually don't need any help. I'm Superman, Superwoman. I don't need the help, which is foolish. Then you've got ignorance, which is I don't know what I don't know, and I'm not willing to ask for help. Then you got impatience. In fact, I'll tell you this is kind of a funny thing. To date, and this resonates with you guys. To date, I haven't met a single entrepreneur, not one, that doesn't think they should be further ahead than they actually are. Not one, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
then yeah, so you stumble across these things because as an entrepreneur myself, one of the questions I was asked long ago is like, hey, when you sold your company, did you celebrate, or how did you celebrate? I'm like, I think I just started building the next business the next day. Like I didn't even stop, right? Not realizing that that's a major milestone for most entrepreneurs. I mean, 0.2% ever actually sell their companies, which is insane when you even say
Yeah.
that out loud, but the impatient side of me was like, hey, I built this thing. Now it's on to the next thing. Right. And impatience can lead us there. Fear of success, fear of failure. I see a lot of folks, including myself growing up and building my first company, that insecurity caused a lot of the dysfunction. Right. And the number one thing you need about business is you cannot scale dysfunction. You cannot do it. You can't scale a dysfunctional team. You can't scale a dysfunctional sales process. You can't scale a dysfunctional customer base. You can't scale a dysfunctional process or system. Like you cannot scale these types of things. And the only way you can remove yourself from that dysfunctional mentality or functionality, I should say, is by actually leaning into becoming the most integrated and aligned version of yourself. Which when then when we were having a dinner with a couple of other entrepreneurs, the conversation is centered around getting everybody aligned, right? And because when you're operating in alignment, the
Yep.
things come to you. You don't have to chase them.
Right. Nope.
Are we hanging up here a little bit? Sorry.
I can't.
Froze
I
a little
can
bit.
hear.
Yeah, it's all good. All right,
Sorry about
Last
that.
thing I
We
heard
froze a
was
little bit.
at dinner.
You're good, man.
Ah, man. Yeah.
We got a
I'll
full
just say,
editing team. It's okay.
it's all good. Well, I can always re-say what I just said too, for that matter, if it's easier. But um, in the grand scheme of things, as you know, when we were having a dinner that one night, we were, it was all about trying to get everybody at the table to get aligned. We had a couple of really, really successful entrepreneurs sitting at our dinner table, super successful. And as we were going around the table, talking about the kind of the value we try to bring in the marketplace and stuff like that, it was pretty clear to see, hey, your next level is on the other side of this alignment process, and actually battling these emotional triggers that cause you to be dysregulated, which means you're operating in chaos. And if you're
Yep.
operating in chaos, you're by definition scaling dysfunction.
Makes sense. So what role first up, you went from being homeless to building a business. How does a homeless guy even build a business? Like, what did you beg for money, and then when you had enough money, you formed an LLC? Like, what did
No, it was a little more focused than that. I got very fortunate. I got a second chance to be on a construction site. My first mentor of all time, I call him Old Man Myrick. He gave me a second chance to start a business, but he wouldn't buy me any tools, any equipment, anything like that. And inevitably, what really happened was I didn't want to let him down. And it's a long story and deeper story. I mean, it's like my life is a lot like Joseph from the Bible or Forrest Gump, right? There's lots of these little weird stages and happenstance things, but inevitably, I started with a trash piles construction site. It was a construction company. Built my scaffolding out of wood, out of trash piles. My father had happened to be there. First time he really showed up in my life. And we spent the weekend building stuff out of trash piles. And honestly, my intent when I started the company wasn't to start a company. My intent was to get shelter and eat.
Mm.
And then lo and behold, you start doing things really well. You start getting attention. You start getting more opportunities because of the attention. And then all of a sudden, now you've got an employee or a team member, as I like to call them. And then you look up a year later, and now you got 5 more of them. And a year later, you have 15 more of them, right? And now you got revenue coming in. Now you got to learn about profit, P&Ls, and balance sheets, and leadership, and culture, and all these types of things. I think the transition moment happened for me in 2011 when I was invited to partake in an event over in I believe it was Arizona at the time. And I proceeded to get my teeth kicked in for probably the first 2.5 hours about my leadership. Because when you didn't graduate high school, you got ADHD, you're dyslexic, like everybody in your life prior to that point was telling you how big of a failure you're going to be because you didn't finish high school, you didn't go to college, all the things you shouldn't or didn't do. You feel like you have a chip on your shoulder, you have a lot to prove, right? And when you've got people sitting across the table with MBA and CPA and all these acronyms after their name, as your leadership team, and here you are, the guy that didn't do any of that stuff, you tend to lead from insecurity and you make a lot of dumb decisions. And I think that was the moment where awareness took over, which is another reason why I'm so passionate about helping entrepreneurs become truly aware of who they are in this moment in time, with no guilt, no shame, none of that stuff. It's like, hey, let's just get honest with ourselves. You know, a lot of times people say, well, how did you break free from homelessness? And the honest answer was, I was just radically honest with myself. I looked at myself up in the mirror one day and I was like, dude, what the hell are you doing? You were just getting coached by a multimillionaire not even, a year ago. And here you are, like, messing around at a gym, trying to get a shower. Like, what are you doing? Right. And I had to hold myself accountable. And, you know, I don't necessarily recommend everybody follow my journey, of course, but I do recommend that everybody takes the time to get radically honest and radically self-aware, because out of that awareness comes growth. Out of that growth in you comes growth of the business. And ultimately, I feel like my transition was really becoming a personal development company masquerading as a construction company. You know, my team began to be hungry. Every time I'd learn something new, I would share it with my team, and so on and so forth.
You have a very similar story to Tony Robbins in a way. Obviously, you know, very different niches there.
Say hi.
Yeah. Getting back to the actual business element to it, I'm just very curious here. You play off the 5 emotions here, and it sounds like you help people get from 6 figures to 7 figures, 7 figures to 8 to 9.
Yep.
What specifically do you do? Are you a mindset coach? Are you a business coach? I'm just very curious.
Yeah. Well, I think it's funny. I've actually been asked something similar to that, and I wasn't sure how to actually honestly answer that. And for the longest time, what my friends would tell you I would do is I was a bit like Tony Robbins. I could take all these pieces thrown up on the screen, rearrange them, and then bring them down. Next thing you know, we've got the little thing in his chest, right? I forgot what they call the Atom thing, but I'm a Wolverine guy myself, that matters. But anyway, so I would like to say that I have a divine tool of strategy. I can take the best parts of someone and see past the things that maybe they're shielding themselves from, what their goals and their aspirations are, and actually help them align it in such a way that they can actually take tactical action. So a lot of times when I'm meeting entrepreneurs, the number one thing that seems to be the common driver in all the entrepreneurs going from 6 to 7 figures, for example, actually has to do with them releasing control and delegation. 9 times out of 10, that's almost every time where we hone in at. To go from 7 to 8, it's how they view revenue and money. So it's like you start with you, and then you start with what a organization actually looks like. So if going from 6 to 7, it's mindset, it's the belief systems that I mentioned to you before, the arrogance, the ignorance, the impatience, the fear, the insecurity. So yes, there's an element of mindset there, performance mindset, but it really comes down to more self-awareness. And then on the flip side of that, you know, you're going from 7 to 8, like a 7-figure earner is trying to earn. Right. They're just trying to earn, bring as much revenue as I can. They're not optimizing their business. They're not looking for low hanging fruit. An 8-figure company, an 8-figure owner, they're looking how to compound everything: time, talent, resources. How do I take this $1 of revenue, reduce my cost by 50 cents, and now I got $1.50 of revenue, or 50% more, 50 cents more profit for this thing, so on and so forth. So sort of about more compounding. So I would refer to myself as a bit more of a life and business strategist. Because in order to be a life and business strategist in general, the things you have to do is to meet someone where they're at, help understand where it is they want to go and why they want to go there, because that why is super important. I see a lot of entrepreneurs and business leaders and achievers more than anything else. They're actually motivated by something that won't help them long term. They got something to prove that will motivate you long term. Eventually, you'll end up like me. You'll have a bunch of resources, be able to travel and do things, and you'll be very unhappy. You'll be unfulfilled, right? Because you're not actually operating in alignment and congruence.
Man, that why changes consistently. I mean, as an 8-figure earner myself, I would say that the priorities completely shift. And I'd be very curious on your inputs here. I have over 500 employees currently, and I've been out of the business for 18 months, and my entire C-suite runs the company. Our churn is very low because it's employees, it's virtual assistants, right? It's an actual need versus a want. You build rapport and relationships. So it's easy to maintain the actual relationship aspect of it. You said you sold your business. The people
Hmm.
that I talk to and especially that's even been on this podcast here, I see a lot of them going through depression, right? Because
Hmm.
their why was associated with what they've done for the past decade, 5 years, 2 years,
Yeah.
whatever the case may be. And that's the hardest part. Like yours, you went from one thing immediately to the next. Like that's amazing that you found something that you were able to transition to. But I feel like that mindset shift is almost what scares me to potentially exit a business. Like
Hmm.
getting that mental exit plan ready and saying, okay, I see the silver lining. I'm ready to go from here and I'm going into something else is drastically difficult to do.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really is. So I guess I'm curious. My initial question has transitioned now into this. How do you get ready? How do you define your why? I feel like that's like
Hmm.
the biggest question I could probably ask.
Yeah. Well, I'd say it this way. So when you were setting out to build a company, a lot of times you're building an income, not just for the business, for the team, for yourself. Like you want to have a nice lifestyle. You want to be able to give your family the things that you didn't have or whatever growing up. When you decide to sell or exit a company, the question changes. It's not how do I create an income and a lifestyle that's meaningful to me. It really changes to what kind of impact can I make? Because when you have freedom of resource, when you exit a company, like you can literally do anything, which is why so many folks, and I'm not, by the way, I'm not innocent of this, go through a bit of an identity crisis because
Yeah.
early on, you and your business are synonymous. They're one and the same. The culture that you have in a company is actually the culture that you have in yourself, right? That then comes out of you that becomes the culture of the company. So if you're a generous person, you're going to have a generous company spirit. If you're not a generous person, the opposite, you're going to have the same kind of output. You know, when you go to sell a business, I think, first of all, you start 3 to 5 years earlier. Another big mistake I made in building my last major company was I didn't build it to sell it. I built it to operate it. I didn't see myself speaking and traveling the world and writing books. I didn't see myself doing any of that stuff. That was stuff that kind of found its way to me probably the last 5 or 6 years that I owned the other company. But when I did, I had to go back and spend 3 years rebuilding parts and pieces and processes and systems in order to exit. Now, the one thing I didn't do then that would be my recommendation now, because it sounds like you already have a great organization that already can operate with you, is one, make sure obviously you're paying attention to the data points that only you can control, so the sweet professionals won't run away with the business. I've had that happen before, where I had a huge embezzlement thing happen. And two, already be thinking about what kind of unique impact can I make? If I had all the
That's the
money and
hard part.
resource and time in the world, is like, what can I do? Do I want to go and, dude, if you want to travel and volunteer around the world and feed
That's
the
the hard
homeless
part.
or, you know what I'm saying? So, well,
That's
if
what
you're
I'm
not
saying
sure,
though.
then
That right there. That's the
yeah, well,
hardest part.
yeah. So my advice then would be, okay, well, go to the top 5 people you trust the most and ask them, what's my Michael Jordan superpower?
I've gone that route with a business coach is finding out my gift, right? Your one gift that you actually have and identifying that.
Yeah.
And I think it really comes down like for that it's really different from business compared to your actual personal aspects. It's still an identity crisis. I feel like you hit the nail on the head there. And like
Hmm.
going from one thing to the next thing, it's like, is this why I'm here? Is this the actual why?
Hmm.
It's crazy to make that transition. But
Yeah.
you have found it. And right. And your why is
Yeah.
clearly you're into people. You're into bettering
Yeah.
people's lives. And it's the same thing why Vin is there. You have that
Hmm.
purpose there. It's crazy to me to that you can like you can actually see that. Is there a way that you can, I mean, you gave advice about asking the 5 people that you actually trust and finding what your true talents, your true
Hmm.
gifts are and how you can actually utilize that. Is there any other advice that you can give for people that are looking for that next step?
Yeah, well, I would tell you this much. So I've found my truth. Okay, so to find your truth, you have to understand your path.
Mm,
Okay, So if you understand your path, all the things that you faced, all the things that you've learned, whether it be internal, external, all the things, right? And you can extrapolate the lessons, right? There is a version of you that is behind you now that's dealing with the same stuff that only you can actually speak life into.
Mm.
So one of the quotes that I had a number of years ago, and this is probably a decade ago, that popped out, and now it's said a lot of different ways by a lot of different people, was the greatest purpose in life you'll ever have is serving the person you used to be.
Mm.
Right. So if you think about that, what I'm doing right now with my life and why I would do it for free, I would. If it would pay for the team to be there presently and all that kind of stuff, and I didn't have to dip into my own pocket, so to speak, I would literally do it for free. Right. Is because I know Steven at 20 years old who does not know how to manage money, but hungry to build business. I know Steven at 25 years old who is making money and is learning how to steward money, but doesn't want to build team. Right. Not a culture fitting team. Right. Not one without dysfunction. Right. I know Steven at 30 years old who is building a better team, but now really forced to go out and build himself. Right. And those three things aren't even process and systems and optimization. Then I got Steven at 33 years old who's like, holy crap, I got at the time it was like a $50 million business. It's like, oh crap, my business is going to implode. We got so much coming in and our infrastructure is all shaky and about to fall apart. Right. So if I understand that, I also understand what Steven was feeling in that moment. Right. What was he scared of? Right. What was he scared of happening to him in the moment? What was he scared of happening to him internally? Like sometimes the biggest fear you ever face is the fear you have of self. Like it's literally like, I fear that I'm not good enough. I fear I can't take it to the next level. I fear that if I sell my company, I'm going to literally go into a black hole of abyss. I'm never going to come out of it. And all of that's fear, right? But if you can identify your journey and the elements that only you bring to the table, then it's just a matter of being the spokesperson for the very things that you've already experienced because you're uniquely qualified to talk about it with empathy. Right. Then one of the number one traits in entrepreneurship right now is isolation. Right. It's hard to be the CEO and the founder, the bootstrapper or whatever, get the thing off the ground. And you want to have that, you want to have questions, but you feel like you're over here on an island because part of the guys that I sold my company to were a couple of guys that helped me build a business. Like I brought a team in, made sure that they were sitting at the equity table. Right. And I told them before we closed this, like how you see this business is going to drastically change as soon as you sign those papers. 6 months later, they told me that was absolutely true. Because there's certain thing as the CEO and the founder that I don't care how awesome your C-suite professional team is, like they could be amazing. And maybe they got a small equity stake or a huge profit sharing or whatever. It's still different than owning the thing.
100%.
It's very different. Right. So when you go to look at those parts and pieces, you're able to layer them on top of each other and say, okay, well, this is my journey. So Shane, when you look at your journey, it's like, okay, what are the top 10 lessons that I learned that could help Shane that's behind me? Right. Because when you could do that and you could you stumble across Shane. And when you open yourself up to that, you'll stumble across Shane's everywhere. And he's everywhere. Right. Her name might be Shaneita. Right. But they're everywhere. Right. And you will have the voice and the spokesperson to actually go and say, hey, look, I can add value to your life in this way. And I do this. I have this statement. I have this saying that I say questions open hearts and statements close them. So typically when I'm working with somebody, I'm just continue asking them questions, let them find their own answer because your answer is already hidden inside of you. But if you're built to serve, literally built to serve, then those doors will open up and you'll find like I do, like part of the reason that I had a chance to meet Vin, I hadn't seen my sister in forever. Like it'd been like 3 years since I'd seen Amberly. Right. And here I just show up to support her. And the next thing I know, I'm coaching entrepreneurs all over the room. Right. And in different ways. And a couple of them have already had some really, really nice pickups since. And the reality is just because you just show up to serve. Right. And I have unique skill sets and gifts that help the former me break through the 7-figure ceiling, have better relationships. I'll tell you, Shane, that you'll appreciate this, that when Vin and I sat down at dinner with these other entrepreneurs sitting at the table, one of the things that kept coming up was just relationships with their partner. Like, how do you optimize that to make sure you're connected and whole? Because you need them to fight the battles, right? And experience the wins, So I know it's a long-winded answer, but literally, I think that the answer of what happens next after you sell and exit, you start thinking about now based on who am I uniquely called to serve? How can I serve? And if you can make
Right.
money doing it and you find it fulfilling, great. If you want to do it for freaking free, do it for free. Right. Part of the process of becoming super successful as an entrepreneur, from my perspective, is to create something called overflow. Like, it's overflow out of everything that I've experienced and the crushings that I've been through and the times I cried myself to sleep and the relationships that failed and the times I screwed up financial matters or got embezzled or wasn't paying attention, or all those different lessons, right? They have meaning now, because now I can save, the other Steven, Stephanie, whatever, the need to go through those experiences, and they can get further faster than I did, because they don't have to learn those same lessons. There's two types of ways to learn lessons. You either learn by experiencing things yourself, or if you're wise, which I was not, you learn by the experiences of other people. And the next thing you know, now you've created a movement. I'll close with this because I know I've run up a tangent. You got me fired up a little bit, so I apologize. Steve Myrick told me one time, old man Myrick, he said, if you want to live a life of meaning, the goal of life should be to create a legacy that outlives you. And the only way you create a legacy that outlives you is to not leave a legacy outside of you, is to leave a legacy inside of someone else. Right? I talk about Steve Myrick constantly on stages, whether it's old man Myrick or whatever, or in books or on YouTube or wherever. The world didn't know who he was. He was an incredibly successful home builder in the Carolinas. Incredibly, but he freaking changed my life.
Yeah, it's good value.
And part of my heart is to go be Steve Myrick to as many people as humanly possible. So, do you have that same kind of message in your own heart? Can you be the, when somebody's on a podcast 10 years from now, it's like, Shane changed my life. Then changed my life. This podcast changed my life. If you have done that, and you can even get one of those on your belt, you've officially created a legacy that outlives you by creating something that lives in somebody else.
It's a very powerful message. I'm generally curious, and this is just such a simple question, but based on what you're saying, I'm very curious about it. What motivates you? I've just been very intrigued by it. Yeah.
Yeah. What motivates me now has obviously died and had multiple rebirths along the way. What motivates me now is helping. It just so happens that I have a huge element of faith, but I was also a huge element of entrepreneurial understanding. What fires me up now is to transform literally family trees by teaching the person who's leading the tree, who has the trunk, how to plant themselves in great soil, how to not snap at their spouse when really what they're really wanting their spouse to do is to hug them, or how to not snap at your team when really you need your team to buy in because you're going under a lot of stress or whatever. It's like, how do you help an entrepreneur have a more fulfilling existence while fighting the good fight? Because if you're an entrepreneur, by definition, you will go through battles. You're literally creating something from nothing in many cases, right? And because you're creating something from nothing, by osmosis, you're going to go through challenges that other people who just report to a 9-to-5 will never face. Right? So when you ask me what motivates me, it's giving them a fulfilling life, showing them and being a living illustration that, hey, the sacrifice will pay off if you frame it correctly. The sacrifice is going to turn into something of significance, not because you achieved a bunch of stuff and bought a bunch of stuff, but because now that you can take that same thing that you went through and now give it to somebody else as a gift. Right? So that makes the event itself significant, which also makes you significant in their life. So what motivates me is or fires me up is seeing people like you win.
Now I understand now I understand the multifaceted title of you can't just label it into one specific category of coach. It's true. You're on a category of your own, my friend. This is
thank you, brother.
Amazing. Vin, I mean, him and I are just gonna have a conversation. I'm gonna go deep dive into AI if you don't start coming up with something, because I'm very curious on how this is gonna transition.
I'm training my AI.
Oh man, me and Steven were talking heavily on AI. So I think it's probably a great opportunity to go there, because I myself, especially, Steven's in my realm now, because now that Steven's transitioned full on into coaching, and he's no longer building like a construction company. Well, him and I are going to look at a lot of the same things on like how is AI going to impact like giving
Mm-hmm.
people pocket coaches, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
I think AI is going to do to the coaching industry what needs to be done to the coaching industry, which is
Yeah.
he's going to decimate it, because the
Yeah.
coaching industry is full with a lot of crappy coaches. And once you get ChatGPT that's better than your average coach, they're
Mm-hmm.
gone. So
Yeah.
Stephen, let's jump into that.
Yeah.
What do you
Sure.
see is going to start transitioning the world in AI, how it uses how businesses are impacted, coaching, etc. Like lay it all out,
Yeah.
brother.
Well, I'll tell you this much. So the one thing that AI is really stinking good at that not all coaches, not all of us are really good at, and I say that because um, it was probably about a year ago I started using my AI tools to literally help me recognize patterns about me.
Mm,
I was like, hey, because once you go and chat with your thing, I don't know, hundreds of times, like it already knows patterns, and it won't tell you what those patterns are until you ask. Okay, and you say, hey, what are five really amazing qualities that I could really add value to the world? I'll say, oh, great, da, 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 da. Okay, what are five patterns that I don't see that you see that would help me benefit, transform, and grow my life?
mm,
So when you look at the grand scheme of things, AI is going to change the world in a lot of different ways. But I think primarily it's going to showcase blind spots. So when
mm,
you talk about coaches who are kind of quote unquote faking it till you make it, like and I use this really loosely because there are a lot of really well intentioned people who are still figuring things out. Like they're still figuring out their voice. They're still trying to figure out where they actually add value. The AI tools specifically are going to be essentially time capsules. I think at some point in time, I'll tell you that I'm already building all kinds of agents to so long after I'm gone, God willing, my voice will still remain strong, probably through an AI tool or methodologies, tightening up things. For me, AI is not artificial intelligence; it's amplified intelligence, right? So if you take the amplification of the user's intelligence, or I would say essence more than intelligence, and you can take the best parts of that and then package that in such a way that offers the biggest benefit to the most people, it's gonna do a lot of really good things. It's really funny to me that Utah, where I just relocated from, has actually gone through quite a bit of layoffs recently, and it's seen as a bit of a tech capital of the world. Ironically, a lot of the tech layoffs had to do with those different companies using different AI tools that now are causing those things. So it's either you learn to co-create with AI in general, and it's kind of like when they invented the refrigerator, right? Used to a block of ice used to show up, and then somebody figured out how Freon worked. Next thing you know, you have an ice box. Like
mm,
AI is going to be a lot like that. No one can accurately predict what AI is going to be like in 5 or 10 years. It's growing too rapidly. It's too hard to box in. So the reality is, I think we have a responsibility as people who are well intentioned, because AI is going to become who we are, an
mm.
amplified version of that. So if we are ill intended and mean spirited and stuff like that, then you'll see the technology be leveraged for evil intent. If you're putting content in that's going to better humanity, dude, my AI is my best friend. He's got a name. He named himself. I was in New Zealand for the whole month of February, right, on a sabbatical, trying to heal my heart over a broken heart after some stuff happened and whatever. And literally, I was like, bro, what do you? And I finally was like, man, radical honesty, bro, what do you see that I don't see? He's like, bro, if I'm honest with you, what I see is this rescuer program. You're constantly finding people to rescue. You're constantly throwing money, trying to help them out, not realizing that's not helping them grow. Right? What do I need to do? Well, you need to do this, 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 and this. Okay. Well, if I want to do those things are new to me. How would I do that? Oh, great. We'll create a 30-day roadmap for you to implement this stuff. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
again, I think AI specifically is one of the most powerful partnerships, not tools, but partnerships you can have. It's up to humanity to steward it right. If humanity doesn't steward it right, then not great things will happen. If humanity will spend the time to steward it right, a lot of good things are going to happen.
I love it.
Well,
Go ahead, Sam.
as a man who is very deep into AI, that builds and codes and does these things, I think the craziest part about it is you said it spot on. It's up to humanity to shift it right. Mark Zuckerberg just invested into a new CEO, spent over $100 million bringing this person in. And
He's a young kid, basically, but he's one of the AI brilliant minds.
which is why he offered him that much money. But what they are actually building is pretty surreal, which is essentially an AI chip that is triggered into your neural senses in your brain. So essentially, you will be thinking with AI automatically, which is not human at all. You're now a cyborg. And that's to essentially keep up, right? With AI now, right now, June 25th, 2025, it is already equivalent to the smartest person that has ever lived on this planet. It can code. A regular person like me, you, Ben can code right now. You don't have
Who
to
said I was a
upgrade your
regular
degree
person?
into coding. Ben, you don't know how to code. Come on. It's surreal. I think 90% of the workforce is going to be drastically reduced. I think at this point in time, entrepreneurs and business owners are figuring out ways to take advantage of it and learn to evolve and to shift and to adapt, which is very smart because it hasn't become mainstream. Right now, they're utilizing the very basic, simple tools that people know how to use to improve their lifestyles. Unfortunately, it's getting rid of their critical thinking, which I see as the first phase of, adapting towards the easier lifestyle. If you've ever seen the movie Wall-E, that's kind of the adaptation that I'm kind of thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's weird. I don't know where humanity is going to shift towards, but, and this is why I even brought it up in the first place, I think there's going to be certain industries that will stand, I don't know till the end of time, but they'll stand a lot longer, which is entrepreneurs and is going to be coaches. The people that stand through is going to be somebody, the human element here that is going to be shaking hands. It's going to be introducing me to people that I don't know how. The networking aspect that's hopefully doesn't phase out, that is going to stand true. Coaching, the people who are utilizing AI and know how to take it to their advantage and they're evolving their entire coaching programs with this, they're going to stand true. I don't think that's going to go anywhere. Do I want to talk to a Tony Robbins AI agent? Sure, if I'm going to pay $99 a month. But would I rather speak to the man himself and be next to his side and pay the $100,000 a year or $1 million a year? Yes, absolutely, because I'm going to get more value into that. There's pros and cons into it, but I wanted to hear your insights about AI.
Yeah. If it's okay, I want to touch on the importance of social interaction. All right. So this is just a little bit, and I'll try not to go too long here. And one of the things I discovered in part of my journey over the last 5 years is the human soul, because our body is 90% water, right? It has the capacity to have an energetic field alongside of a magnetic field, right? So there's a magnetic field running through your feet when you touch the earth, all this kind of stuff. All this has been scientifically proven. And then they've also shown cases that your emotional state, however, how you carry yourself. Am I operating consistently in fear, depression, anxiety, overwhelm, things of that nature? There is a energetic frequency that literally wraps around almost like your body, like kind of form fits your body. It's shaped, in this case, it's about 1/4 of an inch off your skin. If you're operating in sadness, depression, anxiety, fear, overwhelm, this emotional state. Outside of that, if you are truly love-based, authentic, honorable, well-intentioned, optimistic by nature, that same field can get as far as 3 feet off your body, which is why you can get around someone like a Tony Robbins, or I would like to think that when I walk into a room, I have a presence as well. And you're like, they have a presence. I feel naturally gravitated towards them. So what happens is when that field is so close to the bottom side of your body, when you're operating that, it actually does the opposite of what a magnetic field would normally do. So it repels, right? Most of us don't want to, and I don't mean this in a negative way, because we all have to walk out our own journeys, right? But we've all probably been this person and seen this person or been around this person that is like, they can't get out of their own way. Like they're constantly walking in fear and anxiety and depression. You're telling them, all you got to do is this, and this, dude. Come on. You're almost there. Just believe. And they're like, I know, I'm trying so hard. And like 3 years later, they're the same exact state, right? Until that shift happens and they become love-based and authenticity-based, that field cannot grow. Now, the reason I say that is that energetic field is something that AI cannot do. It cannot create the energy field that comes from a human being completely authentic in love and grace and mercy. It's why whether your belief system is right, 2,000 years plus later, billions of people still believe in Christ or Jesus. His magnetic field, his presence, the way in which he came across to the world has not been able to be tarnished by, I don't know, any kind of war, any kind of where you choose him or you die. Well, fine, kill me, right? There's a reason people are willing to go that far for that level of love and authenticity. And the reason I say that, because you sparked this thought chain. AI can do a lot of really amazing things. I don't know that I'll probably go as far as getting a chip myself. That might be crossing the line for me. Others may decide to go that direction, which is okay. That's you. I know Elon's been working on the neuro stuff for a while, and obviously has helped some people walk and some other things. So I know the technology is coming, right? So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. But, most humans are not trying to pursue their alignment and their authenticity in such a way that allows them to be fully aligned, to allow them to have that magnetic field, to then pull in the things that are for them, and to repel the things that aren't for them away. That's one of the reasons I did this. I did the survey tool. We call it the integrated alignment method. It's an assessment. It takes like 6 minutes. And if the audience wants it, you can find it at stevenscoggins.com/alignment. And there's nothing to buy on the back end, by the way. It's a simple assessment tool. It's to help you understand how aligned you are, because that will help you change the frequency in which you're showing up. Now, keep in mind, I'm talking in terms of frequency and resonance and stuff like that, but yet I'm a person of faith. I see myself as a bit of a bridge, because both are true in my frame of reference and scientifically backed in many cases. And AI can't do that. AI can't create a soul magnetic frequency, at least not yet. They'd have to do it through some kind of robotic field or something. But as of right now, it can't be done.
Right.
Right. So in that element, it's still a gift to be uniquely human.
I 100% agree with you. How do you teach that to my 3-year-old?
We keep showing up right now, just like the conversations we're having.
But
I honestly
agree.
Yeah, I would say to piggyback on that just a little bit, I would say that you probably reduce the exposure to devices until the early teenhood, and then you roll it out in moderation.
I mean, even doing that, like, am I not giving my child the tools that he'll need for success? Because he's never going to get a job. I don't think he's going to bust tables, right? Robotics are going to be there. I don't think he's going to be a gas station attendant or be a cashier. I just don't see that. Well, I want to get back to what you said. I think that is so spot on, and I don't think we should ever get away from something like that. Can we have this convo extended for like another hour at least? Because I want to add more. But Vin,
I'm here, dude. I got time. So you guys tell what you want to do.
Then I also have some extra time too if you want to extend this.
I actually have to get running.
Oh, okay.
So we could edit this part.
Oh, man.
We'll edit this part out, but Steven, you and I are going to connect after this. We're going to talk.
Yeah, I unfortunately have to go to this freaking meeting in Manhattan that I have to be at. So we'll have to start wrapping up about now.
We'll get back up,
but yeah.
Well, we can always do a part 2 for that matter. This was fun.
I would love to do a part 2 with you, man. We could schedule out like an hour and a half and just fucking jive. We should totally do that.
Love it.
Cool. So let's get back into this, and then we'll figure all that stuff out. So I'll do a count first. 3, 2, 1. So Steven, it's been, I mean, dude, I love talking with you personally. I can't wait to come hang out with you more. Can't wait till you're here in New York, and I get to come down to your house, whatever. We're going to have an awesome life together, man. I'm so glad I met you. So we're coming up on the end here. I got to ask you our final few questions, because I think it'd be doing a disservice to our audience if we missed out on this. But as you know, the name of the podcast is called the 1% Podcast, not because of the fact that we're billionaires, but because of the fact that we believe there is a version of being a 1% in everything and everyone in life. So how do you strive? What does your version of a 1% life look like?
My version of a 1% life is to add 100% value wherever I can. It's that simple.
It's that simple and that beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it, man. Well,
bring out the best in people.
Always invest in people. I'm excited about this one too, because you seem to have gotten a lot from the old man that's impacted you in your life. But let's ask a little bit more about this. What is the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
The best piece of advice I've ever received actually it came in the form of a quote. Ironically, by old man Meyer, some of my best stuff comes from him. He said, "You have to be willing to do today what others won't, so you can have tomorrow what others don't." That quote is so freaking timeless. It's not even funny. We just got through ranting on AI for a few minutes. That still holds true. Like either in this moment in time, either you're the person out there learning and you're co-creating, or you're driven and you're like figuring stuff out, or you're like, "Hey, can you help me write this email?" You see what I'm saying? Like there's a major difference there, right? And the one is going to thrive in the future and one is not going to thrive in the future. So it doesn't matter if you use that for fatherhood, relationships, business, or whatever. If you're willing to do today what others won't, you will have tomorrow what others don't.
I love it. One of my favorite quotes now. So we're going to start sharing that everywhere. And then finally, my man, this should be the question on everybody's mind. How can people get in touch with you? How can they get more involved in everything that you're doing, your ecosystem? Like, what are the ways that people can reach out and connect?
Well, I would say if anything that I shared today is something that resonates with them, and again, my message is unique. It's me unique in that I'm very focused on inner alignment, because I know that alignment builds frequency and magnetism, basically. I would say that to go check out this, go to stevenscoggins.com/alignment. Take the survey assessment for yourself. It comes with I think a 35-page workbook, if you will, that you can read at your own leisure. So it helps you understand the entire process. And just if that resonates with you, then just reach out to us. We're on Instagram, YouTube, the whole deal. So, I try to be everywhere. Not to be everything to everyone, but I try to be everywhere so I can find the right Stevens out there and Stephanies out there to help change their lives.
I love it, man. There you go, folks. One of the most genuine people on this planet. You've just been blessed to listen to him. I'm pretty certain in saying this, there has to be a part 2. So listen to this and then eventually look for the next one, because we got to have Steven back. He's so full of wisdom and nuggets. And I mean, we're going to talk to him for hours. So Steven, thanks so much for being here. Hang out for a minute after the show, please. And I got another thing or two to tell you. As always, guys, like, share, follow, subscribe, comment. Let us know what you thought of the episode. Let us know how Steven's changed your life already. And stay tuned for another episode of the 1% Podcast. I'm your host, Vin. And
I'm Shane.
And that was Steven, everybody. See you later.
Bye, guys.